Hello, 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 everybody. It is me, Jessica Grace, and I am so excited to be here with you tonight. We are in for a treat. Woohoo! It's going to be a fantastic show tonight. I am so excited about our guest, Dr. Jaquet Dumas. She is in the house. I see her backstage right now. And so I'm about to bring her out in just a second, but I want everybody to take a moment and share this broadcast. We need to share this because the conversation is going to be amazing. I was watching Dr. J's video on Instagram a few days ago, maybe about a week ago, and I was just ignited. I mean, she was on fire and I loved it. I've been listening to the video over and over again today. I done got a whole transcript that I have printed out. I am just like amazed. And so I can't wait for you to hear about what she is doing right now to end systemic racism in the African American community, in the educational system. So she has definitely studied to do this. So let's take a moment and share this real quick. I'm going to go ahead and start inviting a few people to come on. Let's see. Who do we have? We've got some people in here already. And you guys go ahead and post in the comments where you are watching from as well. All right. And I'm going to start a watch party. Cool beans. Okay, you guys, well, we're about to bring Dr. J in. I see her backstage. Let me go ahead and bring her in now. Let's see. Hello, beautiful.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Pretty good. It was a long day today, but it was productive, and that's my favorite kind of days.
Right. I understand. I was like, she is probably so busy running around trying to get to where she needs to be. But we are so excited that you were able to come on to the show tonight just to talk to us about this topic. I see that you have an awesome initiative that I can't wait to hear about, Black Schooled, and how we can participate and help you and support you in that. So why don't you go ahead and give the viewers some information, some background about yourself and what you do in the educational system?
Okay. So I am an educator. I've been in education. I had to keep recalculating this, but I have been in education for about 20 years now. And I started off in the classroom. I did 10 years in the classroom, and then I switched over to administration. In my 10 years of being in the classroom, I just really noticed that even as an African-American teacher, I just was not that effective with African-American students. And it was disheartening for me. But it definitely opened up my eyes to the need to be intentional. And so that kind of started my research agenda. And I proceeded, got a PhD in urban educational leadership. And that's when I really started pushing into what characteristics are universal of both people who serve African Americans, but also a system that properly serves African American students. And that kind of has been my research agenda for the last couple of years. I currently am on full-time faculty at one of the local universities. And so I am training teachers who are getting a master's and just working on some research to try to help everyday educators who are committed to the work, but maybe aren't being the most effective.
Wow, I love it. So this is going to be absolutely exciting. So let's just dive into your mission right now, because as I stated, I was listening to your Instagram live a few days ago, and I mean, it was fire. It was awesome. I loved your enthusiasm, and I loved how you are very passionate about this topic, but it's not just about people being racist and people mistreating African-American people. Your mission seems to be empowering the parents of the African-American race to do their part. So just kind of shed a little bit more light on that for us tonight.
Yeah, I think that it's one thing to be a victim and to look at all of the injustice and wrong that has been done to us, like hands down, like somebody blind can see that. Like, I just feel that there's a thin line between looking back at what's been done and being able to properly look ahead at what we can do. I feel like a system that constantly oppresses people has to have a people that will cooperate with that oppression. And I just decided that I won't cooperate anymore. I won't cooperate as an educator. I won't cooperate as a parent. I won't cooperate as a concerned African American about my community. I don't want to cooperate with your oppression anymore.
That is so good. You are empowered and you are teaching people how to be empowered. So I guess what from your experience and from your research, what inspired this whole mission that you have, you know, from what you were able to see from your research? Can you just share on that?
Yeah, so probably the achievement gap dates back to about 1990. So you're looking at 30 years of an achievement gap between African American students and their white counterparts. Our brown students, love our brown students, but they've advanced over the last years. But our African American students, that gap persists. And I believe that 30 years of talented PhD researchers, people with experience, how in the world in 30 years can we not solve a problem that we actually want to solve? I feel that the system has been set up and can only thrive on the oppression of the African American student. And in many cases, because we don't push back, then these different things persist. And so just watching this achievement gap and knowing that we've been able to address how to properly service SPED students, we've been able to address how to properly serve English language learners. How is it that we cannot close the achievement gap for African American students? Somebody needs to push back and make some critical but necessary decisions. One of the things that's been successful over those populations that I mentioned is targeted intervention on their behalf. Literal funding from our state, from our federal government that directly goes just to English language learners, just to SPED students. But when it comes to African American students, the money is lumped as Title I money. The money is lumped as something else. But federal government, state government, they are very hesitant to target money that says, no, this money is only reserved for African American students, even though they've seen that that's what's worked for all the other subgroups in the last 30 years. We have a district up north here in California that has pushed back some, and they have designated money directly towards African American students for programs that include them only. And they are making quite a few advancements. During my research, I did go see some of their programs, some of the things they're doing, from social emotional things all the way to actual academics and achievement. And that kind of was the birthing of the Black School program.
Wow, that is powerful. So you mentioned on your last video, one that I saw, where you were talking about how the educational system and the school is set up just like, almost like prison, basically. Share a little bit on that for those who are just tuning in and didn't get to catch that video.
So a few years ago, I was studying the school to prison pipeline. And when I think about the school to prison pipeline, I'm considering our students and what, that looks like how do we get into this cycle where our students have similar rates of expulsion and suspension as they do their percentage in the prison system as well. And when you literally look up the rules of the warden, you might as well cross out warden and put principal of urban school. Because the rules are very similar in that using the bathroom is a privilege. So down as far as not touching the lights, which is, big in an urban classroom. You don't touch them lights unless you have permission. Meal times, things like that, stepping out of bounds, physical activity used as a punishment. Very often in an urban school, PE is taken as a punishment to the students. So same thing, how prisoners get their yard time taken. And so just so many, probably 3 pages of warden rules. And I had teachers look at the rules in a training. I had teachers look at the rules and circle the rules that are implemented at their school. They circled 85% of the shared rules. And I think that it's making our students comfortable with being restricted. It's making our students comfortable with being oppressed. It's making our students comfortable with trying to force fit into a system. And so freedom is just as foreign to them as, you know, as a prisoner. And when they think about the world being full of opportunity, our education system has taken that opportunity, chopped it up into little pieces, and given them a little Ziploc of it.
That is so powerful. Wow. So when it comes to being aware of the system, aware of what's going on and the role that we can play, I'd like for you to share on that, because I think a lot of parents today, they adopt that mindset that you spoke of just, you know, well, my student or my child is going to already kind of suck at this piece of material, or she's already going to suck at this particular type of work. You know, she's not going to do well. He's not going to do well because I didn't do well. Can you kind of share on the parallel between how we as parents need to think positive concerning our children and how that affects their success when they go to school?
Yeah. So I think it's natural. I can't say that I'm outside of that. I have co-signed with my student, my child, and had to like kind of back up a little bit, like, wait, I shouldn't have co-signed that. So I think it's natural to just kind of like share like, oh yeah, it's hard. But we are our child's first teacher. And if we give up the reins to a broken education system, our kids are at a loss. And so we've got to make sure that we teach our students how to thrive in an education system that's been set up against them. We are our child's first advocates. And so we ourselves have to adapt a growth mindset. One of the biggest challenges has been this Common Core thing, where a lot of parents, they share like, oh, the Common Core math is stupid. It doesn't make any sense. And this is the way your student's going to be educated for the next 13 years. That might be something you want to keep to yourself, because they're going to school with that mindset of like, well, my parent thinks it's dumb, or my parent thinks it's too hard, too complicated. They're going to internalize it that they'll never get it. So we have to be as invested in sending our kids to school. We have to be just as invested when it comes to sending them with the proper mindset, what they should be accomplishing in school and how to win. I literally practiced code switching when my son turned 11. It was very scary for me. But I couldn't keep him home. I didn't want to homeschool him. And I had to have tough conversations with him on how to be successful in the middle school. I taught him things like talk to your teachers after class, even when they don't talk to you. I taught him things like check on your grades every Friday. I taught him things like apologize for misunderstandings, because my son is very big on apologizing when he's wrong. I taught him to apologize for misunderstandings. If your teacher ever perceives that you're doing something, even if you were not doing, you apologize, not for doing it, but you apologize for the misunderstanding. And these are some of the things that we have to teach our students to code switch and how to be successful in the education system. They could, you know, say this is not fair or whatever, or you could teach them how to play the game. Same way you teach them sports. You would never send your child into sports if they were trying to have a career in it and not teach them the rules of the game. We've got to teach our students the rules of the game for education.
Wow. And so you are training, you are believing in training the children how to communicate to get the respect that they deserve and the respect that they should have in the school system. Talk a little bit more about what you think parents should do and how involved you think parents should do in their child's education success, how involved they should be in their child's success, because I know you spend a lot of time and you wear many hats. You're a pastor's wife. I had a powerful clip to play and ran out of time, but but we're going to stay on subject. But you are a powerful woman of God, a pastor's wife, and you are a principal, correct?
I'm not a principal anymore. I moved to full-time faculty at the university. Yes.
Okay, exactly. So you wear many hats, but you're yet still involved with your child's educational growth and success. So share on that and what parents should do and how they can really help their children.
I would say I have been, and it sucks to say, but I have been a part of way too many break room conversations about African American parents,
Mm,
where teachers think they understand the African American parent and they just don't. The
mhm,
African American parent has been misunderstood. And when you don't show up for the meeting, the program, when
mm,
you don't respond to the call, whatever it is, it's interpreted as you don't care.
mhm,
And so if you are not visible as a parent, unfortunately, you do not exist.
mhm,
The same way they can't see their Starbucks cup on their desk, if they don't see it, it's not there. We've
mhm,
got to make sure that as African American parents, we push in. Now, some of the things that I do, I establish a relationship early on, but I also am very transparent about my schedule. So I know I don't have to, but I choose to share my personal work schedule with my students' teachers so that they know if I don't answer a call at 7, I work nights. These are
mhm,
the nights I'm working this quarter. I let them know. I let them know my preferred email address. I let them know that they can send me a text and I'll, text them back within 24 hours or give them a call. So I established a relationship so that I'm not misunderstood or not left open to assumptions. And so
mhm.
everybody can't be, sorry,
It's okay.
my little AirPod. So
I
usually
know.
I don't stick things in my ears. I'm like super weird about it. Um, but
I get it.
um, one of the things that I always say is you can do something. Ask for take home projects if you can't push in and be on campus, or you have a younger child that you care for and can't come up and volunteer for every party. But whatever you do, make your presence clear, make your presence known. And if there is a challenge with your student, do not ignore it. Don't think that it's going to fix itself. Take the day off of work. It will be worth it. You only have 13 years where you have to make this kind of commitment. Don't regret it later that you didn't make it a priority now. And so I always make sure that I am taking off on strategic days. For me personally, I try to make sure that I'm building that relationship and making contact once a month.
Mhm,
Unless something arises, then I'll, maybe do something more frequently. I make it a point to get out of the car every day, either at drop off or pickup. I just want
mhm,
them to see me.
mhm,
Just know
mhm,
I'm watching.
mhm.
Think about how people behave when they're being watched versus when they think nobody's paying attention. So
Right.
you've got to make sure that they know, his eye is on the sparrow.
Right, right. And I want you to highlight before we wrap it up, I want you to highlight your approach to when the students first get into school, your children, and
Oh yeah.
how yeah, I look, I'm telling you, I was in that line. I got a whole transcript, but I love how you talked about, that letter that you blessed them with at the beginning of the school year. So just share on just a little bit more of what you do also to make sure that the teacher feels comfortable and knows the direction that you want your child to go.
Yeah, so that's part of establishing the relationship for me is during some people have meet and greet ahead of time and that's cool. You can do it at that time. But if you have a school where you have to wait till the first day of school, I always write a letter. This letter to me is just as important as a new lunch pail or backpack. And it makes those kind of things makes the student feel confident on their first day, their outfit and all that. This letter makes me feel confident on the first day. And
Mm-hmm.
I take this letter and I introduce myself, I introduce my student and I give my expectations of the teacher and the school. I always let them know my background and all my personal information. Once again, I'm constantly sharing that with the teacher to make it convenient for them to contact me. And then I
Mhm.
introduce my student. I let them know that my student is brilliant. I let them know that my student is a straight A student. I let them know that my student is a model school citizen and never has and never will be a behavior problem. I let them know that if they ever see anything that doesn't align with who my student is, and I've already established who my student is, then please contact me. I want to work with you so that we can get the best out of my student. I think that educators, and I always top it off with a Starbucks gift card, because, thanks a lot. But I always communicate with them and let them know what I want them to do as a teacher, and that is maximize my students' full potential. And then I just give a gift in there because I never want to come across as too abrasive or unappreciative, because I do ask a lot, but they are committed to this profession. They're getting paid to do this profession, and it was a choice that they made. And so because of that, I am going to make my expectation known, but I also am going to constantly show appreciation. You're expecting all of this out of your child's teacher. You should also celebrate them as often as you absolutely can. And so I do that, and I establish the relationship from the beginning of what my resolves are as a parent and who my child is. Because at the moment where they decide who they think my child is because of the statistics, because our African American students are 3.8 times as likely to be suspended as other students, then they may see my student talking and they may put my student in the statistic. My student is not a statistic. They just happen to make a bad decision. And if you can't rectify that bad decision, I'll help you rectify that bad decision, because my student is not what you heard about African Americans as far as deficit thinking is concerned.
That is powerful. That is so powerful. You are making sure that there is an understanding of who your child is, and you're doing it in a classy way. I feel like a lot of times people expect for African Americans to be the most rowdy, radical, don't know how to act, ready to fight, ready to go off. But I
Yeah.
love your poise and your position when it comes to making sure that your children do not end up as statistics.
Yeah.
So let's kind of go into just about three more questions. I want to know, what are some tips that you can give parents who are watching and they want to help their children this summer, maybe to accelerate or, just to help them continue to grow this summer? What type of tips do you have for those parents watching?
I always suggest putting your student on a schedule for the summer. It really helps them not to have such a big slump when they try to get back into the routine of going to school. So still have a wake up time. You can move it a little bit later, so show them a little grace. But still have a wake up time, have meal times, have scheduled academic content times. If you know that your student is struggling in a certain area, you want to push into that area and spend more time. Either you are going to personally spend the time or hire them a tutor, maybe a teenager who is really successful in that area that can come in and help you out. One of the things that my students absolutely love are the summer bridge books. So whatever two grades they're in between, they have them for every grade, going from second to third, and so on. And so my students all the way up to the eighth grader have the summer bridge books. And we usually start with something like that. Covers math, covers language arts, as well as some social studies is kind of the content of the reading for the language arts. And then we also do some computer programs. And so we subscribe to IXL. It's a small fee for families, but I really like it because it paces the students. It also will give them an assessment, and it points out areas that are weak areas for your student. And we make sure that we spend the entire summer reviewing the content from the previous grade they just finished. And usually by the end of the summer, I teach them early whatever the hard concepts are for the next grade they're going into. And so for my fourth graders, it's going to be some long division and some complex fractions. And then for the eighth grader, it's moving into algebra. So I always try to prepare them, but keeping a schedule, keeping them busy with academic content is going to be extremely important. Doesn't have to be all day, guys. I just let mine go for the morning part. And if they make it to 12, following directions, because mommy's got rules, and they meet their quota for that day, which is like pages or minutes, something like that, they're good for the rest of the day. Now with Corona, we may or may not do field trip Fridays, but Fridays are kind of like our culture day. So that's when I introduce them to the world at large. So it may
Wow.
not be like academic content, but we'll do like a museum or something like that. We've even been finding some virtual field trips. So
Oh,
we
I
did a
love
virtual
that.
field trip to Disney World, and that was super fun. Our family was supposed to travel there this summer, and we just don't feel comfortable with it. And so we did a virtual field trip as kind of like a preview to when we do decide to go. And so some of those things, we want to take our students' mind and like increase the capacity as much as possible, like
Mhm.
never let it lie dormant. Teachers call it summer slump. And basically, the student's brain is on rest for so long that they lose about 3 months worth of academic progress. And teachers have kind of just taken it as a regular expected thing. And when the school year starts, they automatically start the students a few months back and then catch them up. And so you as the parent can be the bridge for that summer slump.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so for everyone else who may not have children and they may not have, students, but they're like, "Listen, I'm ready to get into this fight with you. I'm ready to figure out what I can do to help children, help our African American children to become successful." What do you recommend that those people do to actually be a part of change?
I say mentor.
Mhm.
Mentor. Our students need the wisdom and the affirmation of another adult. A lot of times our students feel like my parents, they have to love me. My
Mhm.
grandparents, my aunts, my uncles, they kind of have to love me. They kind of just put up with me. But it really affirms a student's value and worth when another individual makes a conscious decision to commit to them. And
Mhm.
so find somebody to mentor, invest your time into them, invest your wisdom, invest your commitment and affirmation. I think that it's the best thing that we each can do. Of course, there's organizations that you can join and be a part of, but imagine if every single stable African American adult
Mhm.
just looks across their community and picks one, it makes a world of a difference. We could literally flip the script and the narrative on African Americans and success by making one decision to mentor and invest into the next generation.
Love it, love it. Well, we are wrapping up, and these are the questions that I have. I mean, I have a ton of questions, but I don't want to keep you. I want to remind everyone that Dr. J is absolutely phenomenal, and she's doing all that she's doing, with wearing multiple hats. So we really don't have an excuse on why we cannot pour into our children. So if you have questions for Dr. J, those of you watching, go ahead and put them in the comment section if you have any questions. And while you are getting your questions together, I want you to share with us about Black Schooled, how we can be a part, how we can support, and anything else you have coming up.
Okay. So I have Black Schooled, which is basically I lived in LA for some time. I graduated from USC, and I saw a series of like Chinese Saturday schools. And I'm
Mm.
thinking, what are they doing? And so I looked into it a little bit and I saw that basically part of the Asian culture was that they were investing their community into their students to do school on Saturdays, where they teach them about the culture.
Mhm.
They fill in any academic gaps, and then they also teach them the language, the Chinese language. And I thought to myself, people attribute Asians, and it's a stereotype, definitely, but people attribute Asians with success,
Mhm.
both in academics and in business, and the data supports that. And so when I looked at that model, I said, there's got to be something that to be said about the investment they're making in their children. And so
Mhm.
Black School is really a Saturday school model
Mhm.
where our students will come. There are 5 components. And so they learn about African American history, not the slave based narrative. I don't exclude it, but it is not slave based. So their entire narrative of the African American history, they learn about African American influencers beyond the athletes, and much props to athletes. But when I ask students about a successful African American and all they can name me are athletes, I think that they're limited in their understanding. The third component is college and career readiness. We're going to teach them everything from HBCUs to how to take the SATs to how to fill out an application for college, A through G's, careers that you can go into directly without college experience, but be prepared, make the money, internships, all that, college and career readiness. And then there's the mentorship component. Every student in Black school gets a mentor. And then the last one is called Parenting to Win. So there are classes for parents that they take once a month if their student is enrolled in Black school. And it happens 4 Saturdays every single month for 10 months. So it happens from September all the way to May. And then our students, they can continue in the program all the way up until they are in the 8th grade. And then there's a bridge program that'll be post, especially as we collect like the longitudinal data and we see our students grow. They bring in their report cards every Friday, well, progress report every Friday, and we find out exactly what their grades are, hold them accountable. They get tutoring when they come in on Saturdays. And so that's the program. I am committed to seeing the narrative change, and I'm going to start with my city of San Bernardino, but I definitely see the program growing and being something that becomes a staple in African American communities. And so I feel very strongly about it. Right now, we are collecting both donations, mentors, volunteers, and of course, students. Our students have the option to pay the tuition, or they can apply for scholarships. And that's where a lot of our donations come in, is being able to scholarship some of our students, as well as just completing the overhead, buying the technology and things like that.
I love it. I love it. And give me that website so I can go ahead and post it.
It's blackschooled.org.
.org.
Yeah. Well, funny story about that. I was so excited. I jumped on the internet and made a video. And in my video, I said blackschool.com, but it really was blackschool.org. So my husband, who's extremely supportive, goes and buys the blackschool.com domain as well and reroutes them both. And I was like, I don't know how I did that. He's like, don't worry about it. So blackschool.com and blackschool.org, guys.
Yes, you will have all of them now. I love your husband's business. He's like my business person and apostle, and y'all are the bomb.com.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. So let me see if we have any questions. Okay. So everyone's in here and they're just tuned in and listening. So that is absolutely phenomenal. Are there any other updates that you would like to share? Anything you have coming up? I told you on your live, I love your voice. And I said, I hope she does a podcast, because it's just, I was just like feeling so good. Like,
oh, thank you.
So what are you, anything else that you're working on that we can be a part of?
Yeah. So actually, if you're following me on social media, both Instagram and Facebook, so Dr. Jaquet Dumas, I actually have a podcast coming out, and it's called Black School, Get the Facts with Dr. J. And I walk through everything from microaggression to the fact that when our schools were desegregated, it actually put African Americans back 25 years. And so I'll be talking about all the facts for those things, and it'll be available on all platforms. On Saturday, I'll kind of drop a little intro, and then the episodes will drop every single Tuesday. That actually was part of what I was doing today. We recorded about half of the episodes, and so we're ready to go. And I'm just trying to get the word out as much as possible. I feel like, yeah, it's important for educators, it's important for parents, but this is a community thing. We have to band about something. I've been protesting, I've been out there, but I also feel like at the end of the day, what can I do as like a community member to make sure that I'm even aware? And so Black School is just a start to that conversation. I love data, I love statistics. And so I do go over a lot of those, and it's shocking. I just want to get people interested to pursue the knowledge on their own. I'm not a fountain that knows everything, but I definitely am the type of builder that's going to provoke some thought, and hopefully it challenges you to go and research more on how you can be part of the solution.
I love it. I love it. Well, we have Pastor Kim was our guest on the last episode, and she's asking kind of what we just highlighted a little bit about assisting for those who aren't parents. And you were sharing, mentorship is one of
Yeah.
the greatest things that could be done. Well, thank you so much for that. So we're going to definitely make sure that we visit blackschool.org and participate and donate, and also look out for your podcast as well and follow you on social media. Give out your social media handles real quick.
Got it. So I'm Dr. Jaquet Dumas on Instagram, and then on Facebook, I'm Jaquet Dumas.
Right. Got it. Well, thank you so much, Dr. J. I appreciate you. Please let Apostle know that I said hello, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you again another time.
I will. And thank you for the opportunity. I think that so many times you're putting information out there and you really feel like you're going in the right direction, but nobody is above affirmation and support. And so I appreciate your affirmation and support, and for sharing your platform with me. I had a lot of fun, and I look forward to connecting in the future.
Yes. Thank you so much, and hope to see you again soon.
Okay. Good night, guys.
Good night. All right, everybody. I sincerely appreciate you all for tuning in tonight. I know that was a lot of information that is going to help us for where we are headed. So I want you all to just position yourselves to support and help out. Listen, just because it is the summertime and the kids got out of school earlier because of the pandemic, that does not mean that we do not have an opportunity to intervene and to support their growth in education. So do your part. If you're not a parent, go ahead and, as Dr. J was saying, start mentoring, avail yourself. You may have some extra time now because of the pandemic, because of the quarantine. Hop on FaceTime, hop on Zoom with a student and mentor them and help them to grow in certain areas. If you are a parent, go ahead. She mentioned some great resources. Go back and watch the replay and find out how you can learn what your students' strengths and weaknesses are so that they can make sure that they're growing, so you can make sure that they're growing and sharpening those areas. So let's not be lazy. Let's not give up, but let's push in, as Dr. J was saying, and make sure we're doing our part. All right. Thank you all so much for listening to me. Oh, it's so good to see all of my friends. Hello, Rhonda. Good to see you. Thank you so much for your support. And thank you so much, Pastor Kim, for being here with me. Everyone, I appreciate you guys. Now, listen, I want you all to know that if you're a business owner, we are doing some very special partnership opportunities right now to promote your business. So if you would like to be promoted on one of our shows, I want you to inbox me and we will send you the details. If you're just a person that's supporting me and you want to support even harder, let me know and you can become a partner. I love you all so much, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful night. Take care. Thanks for watching.